Good morning, everybody, and we are live. We've got just Sunday. We made it. Can you believe it? We made it through another week. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's hit a recap of the week and take a look at what's going on and where we're headed. Stick with me, folks. I've got a little something that we've got to talk about that's just probably not in most of your wheelhouses, but it just really just sets the tone for what is going on, what we're seeing out of the Trump regime. And I'll be honest with you, where I'm really terrified we're headed. That this, and I know this is going to seem like off the wall. It is. It's just out of the. What the hell, Paul? Is this a gardening show or what? No. Stick with me, okay? This is politics, but this, my friends, is a mountain laurel. This is a bush that it's kind of tree actually technically, but when you're in Central and South Texas in the semi-arid environment, uh, trees don't what we call a tree around here in East Texas where I live now in an actual forest we call these bushes. But this is a mountain laurel, beautiful, isn't it? It smells wonderful, folks. I've got to tell you, this smells like what you would imagine the inside of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory smells like. It smells like bubble gum. It smells like bubble gum. It is beautiful. It really is beautiful, and it's native to Texas. We've had a problem here in Texas with invasive species, this being one of them. This is an absolutely beautiful, but I actually love these things. I really do. This is one of these damn shame moments. This is a mimosa tree. Some people call it a silk tree, but it's called a mimosa tree. It's native to Asia, and it's an ornamental that was brought in during the 60s and the 70s of the last century. People brought in a lot of plants from anywhere and everywhere because they wanted one. The loquat tree is another one that's just all over South and Central Texas, that people brought in because it's just the fruit is just fantastic. Loquats just taste wonderful. Um, they're just everywhere. They're just everywhere. Well, the mimosas made themselves at home. They really did. They are growing everywhere. They're wild. They grow in the ditches out here in East Texas. No kidding. They're just wild. They just grow everywhere. Um, but stick with me. They put out a little seed pod like this, and the birds and the squirrels and everything just love them. But they are invasive, and they have kind of set off uh, a bit of a problem in the local ecology. And you've got a real push here in the state of Texas, to try to get this under control. So one of the things that they did was they said, look, hey, don't plant mimosas. We've got a native, the mountain laurel, that is gorgeous. It smells better than the mimosa. It's a fantastic tree, bush, tree. It's amazing plant. And we did, man. We did. We really embraced that over the last 20 years or so. Plant local non-invasive species because we do. Texas has some really beautiful this is the morning glory. This is a morning glory vine, also native to Texas. Just beautiful. Comes in purple, comes in violet. They've embraced this as a local variety. So, places like A&M and stuff have worked on different varieties. So you can get them variegated now. They're just beautiful local plant, right? You know? Okay. Sounds like a good idea. And it is a good idea. But this came along. This is kratom. And this is where we take a hard right turn into politics. Now, stick with me. Stick with me, okay? This is kratom. Kratom, if you don't know what this is, ask your teenager. It is hugely popular on the drug scene right now because it is a plant you can get high off of. And it's not regulated. See, we've got a problem with drug policy in this country. We tried to imprison our way out of drug policy. I know, stick with me. It seemed like I'm all over the road, but really it will make sense here in a minute. We got a problem with drug policy in this country. We try to throw everybody in prison that uses drugs. We don't deal with addiction. We don't really particularly respect healthcare. We don't respect addiction as a health issue. And the bigots have found out that you can use drug policy to extend your bigoted, racist agenda. In comes private prisons, and Johnny Got Rocks is now making money off of slave labor in private prisons. And drug policy is just off the rails. It is. We literally create the worst outcomes possible. An example would be the Trump regime. All about cartels, dangerous gangs, Trinidad. Why are they dangerous? Because of cash, because they carry cash. And if you have any business that there's a lot of cash, you're going to have crime. And if you get an unregulated business where you can't rely on the protection of police, anybody that wants to compete with you, well, now it's a violent confrontation. That's just fact, folks. It is. It's just fact. Our drug policy creates the worst possible outcomes. Lori, thanks for always being here. I really appreciate you. And yes, it's not just kratom. It is. I saw somebody mention Jimson weed. Here's the thing. Here's the rub. People want to get high. They do. People want to get high. And they're going to get high. You can make booze illegal. People make their own. Bathtub gin, man. You can make drugs illegal. They'll find a way. And that's where kratom comes in. There are so many substances in this world that you can get high off of. And you can't write a law that regulates each and every one of them. But that's what the GOP is trying to do. Literally trying to do. They just did this. And this is how stupid they are. This is how stupid they are. They wrote a bill here in Texas going after kratom. And they started listing all the plants that you might be able to somehow get high off of if you tried. And guess what's in the bill? Mountain laurels and morning glory. The same plants that we told everybody in the world to plant because they're native, they're non-invasive. If you head down to San Antonio, mountain laurels are everywhere. I mean, we really embraced the local thing. We did. You had it when you hit Central Texas, folks, and South. you hit a semi-arid environment. You're in the very beginnings of the Mexican Badlands, the Sonoran Desert, all of that. So yeah, when they try to plant the ornamentals, there's only certain things that'll grow, and then here comes the Republican Party. They're morons. They just are. They're morons. They don't know anything, and they don't really give a shit about people. All they care about are the donations. So now they floated a bill where, I shit you not, folks, it is going to be a $25,000 fine. Plus, it's a criminal offense if they catch you with a mountain laurel. That old folks all over South and Central Texas, especially, they're up in Dallas too, up in North Texas, planted all over their houses. It's now a $25,000 fine. And before, maybe jail time, because, this is to feed the private prison complex. This is the kind of thing. This is the reason I wanted to talk about that is there's so much going on that is so screwed up right now. Again, I just like to frame things. This is the level of stupidity that we have. It's not just a discussion on drug policy, which is just idiotic. People tell me all the time, Paul, run for office, man. We want you to run for president. Okay, but you're not going to like what I do, because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decriminalize every drug. I am. Even heroin? Yeah, even heroin. I will kill the prison industry. And we'll start treating it as though addiction is a healthcare problem instead of a criminality problem. Because again, and yeah, I'll get, Paul, you can run for office. Okay, but you're not going to like the fact that I'm going to give cartels access to banks. You are? Yeah, I am. Yeah. They're going to be able to put their money in banks. Why? Because that makes the violence go away. Drugs suck. They do. Don't get me wrong. I am not like a pro addiction. And I think a lot of these drugs are really horrifically bad and shouldn't be in the average person's hands. I mean, there's, fentanyl was a pharmaceutical in the hands of doctors, was highly useful, but you put it in the hands of a drug cook and, oh my God, you're killing people. But I would rather deal with regulating that issue than I would destroying people's lives or making your ornamental bush in your front yard a $25,000 fine and possible prison sentence that we told you to plant. E.T., thanks for always being there, man. They only want you to get high off God and send the money while you do so. There was a study done, and I'm going to live this down. I don't want to, show isn't about drugs, and it isn't about addiction. It isn't about, that's not what the show is about. But I just, every time this comes up, I feel it's important to say there have been studies that have showed we don't know shit about addiction. We don't. We got it wrong. The early studies on addiction were very poorly done. Cliff's notes, I'll talk about there's one study that law enforcement still uses to this day to talk about addiction and how dangerous drugs are, that was so fundamentally flawed. No one could reproduce the results without reproducing all the flaws in the study. They took mice and put them in cages with no stimulation. You had food, water, and drugs. That was it. In cages alone. And guess what the mice did? Drugs till they died. Well, they took the same study and they introduced a few toys. Let the mice socialize. You know what the mice didn't do? drugs. They left it alone. What we know about addiction, folks, is horrifically wrong. It is. It is just horrifically wrong. If you've never dealt with addiction, you never had somebody that's been addicted in your family, you understand how your paradigm shifts when you see it firsthand and you know what's going on. I am telling you, folks, we are getting drug policy wrong, and Republicans are incredibly, incredibly stupid and incompetent. And you don't want them making life and death decisions like that. You just don't. Repug stupidity gets overwhelming sometimes. Rich, that's the point of the whole show. You just summed up the whole show. So yeah, I will. I get that that's a whole debate, a whole show that we could have on just drug policy alone. But again, it was to frame just how stupid Republicans are. They're floating a bill here in Texas to criminalize ornamental plants that we just spent decades telling people to plant because of invasive species. Sums up who they are. Meanwhile, they're doing this on a national level. This new budget that they're pushing through, folks, it is criminally stupid. It is criminally stupid. Folks, they didn't invent Medicaid. Again, one of my favorite expressions, because it was Tuesday and they were bored. Folks, they invented Medicaid because there was a dire need. People don't voluntarily just create massive programs for nothing. They don't. They're addressing a need. And we may have, as a people, may have forgotten what that need was because we don't see it as drastically, because Medicaid is there, Medicare is there, Social Security is there. But life is much, much worse without it. And they just gutted Medicaid. They did. We keep saying it over and over again. You remember just a little while ago when we said we were having the argument over abortion, and we kept telling people they want to ban abortion, and everybody kept arguing, oh, you're just being hyperbolic. No, they don't. I'm like, and I kept telling people, no, I talk to these people. I talk to the people that are in these negotiations, that are in these meetings. They're literally trying to do it. Then they got the power and they did it. And a lot of laws, I mean, they keep trying to revisit the laws that they passed that are so insane, and they're just intransigent and dug in. These Republicans, they have laws that are just, everybody knows are stupid in their extremity surrounding abortion, and yet they won't change them. They won't. Main muscle, phew, got my Social Security month, not homeless yet, despite Elon nuts, but for how long? Yeah, hang in there. Hang in there. Vincent Day, my tithe. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, Vincent. I appreciate you. Appreciate the support. Don't kill me. I'm just a vibe. Says, can the Democrats push for the 25th Amendment to remove Trump? He's clearly too incompetent to do the job. It's not just Trump. Trump is doing what the Republicans have always wanted. That's what I keep telling people. One, no, they can't do that. We don't have the power. We took the power from them. They can't even impeach him. They can't even get a vote on articles of impeachment because we took the power from Democrats, and we need to own that. I don't know why that's not soaking into people, and people are not understanding what we've done, but we've done it. Our options to fight this stuff is very limited. And if you want to have an idea how bad this budget is, this is what Republican Randy Langford says about it.
reconciliation budget bill. The nonpartisan committee for a responsible federal budget had this reaction this week. They said the budget sets the stage for the largest deficit increase in history, an unprecedented bill that requires just $4 billion in savings to offset up to $5.8 trillion in deficits. They called it an absolute disgrace. GOP is supposed to be the party of fiscal discipline. Why did you vote yes on this?
So that is the wonderful Washington, D.C. math that's coming through on this. Washington, D.C. says they want all taxes to increase on every single American because January the 1st of next year, every single farmer and rancher, every single small business, every single individual of all tax brackets, their rates will go up dramatically next.
Okay, just Cliff's notes save you some time. He doesn't answer the question, and all he does is talk to taxes are bad. Taxes are bad. Ran for that cover, which kind of leads us into part of what I wanted to talk about, wanted to discuss. If you saw the thumbnail for today's show, at the end of the show, the roundtable, what I'd like, and I'd like to get you thinking on this, is I'd like you to lead to the discussion. The Republican Party is leaning hard into angry men. They are. The whole UFC crowd, young men, they're going to take your toys away. They're not going to let you play with your guns. Just all of this other shit. What happens when this comes home to roost? Because this budget is horrific. It is. It is horrific. Not only does it extend the tax cuts for the wealthy, it screws the poor. It absolutely screws the most vulnerable among us. That UFC crowd, those angry young men, aren't billionaires. They're not rich people. Everything the Republicans are doing and want to do, that they're using social bullshit arguments to get stupid, young, angry people. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. What happens when that reality comes home to roost? Because the Broligarch agenda really hurts these same angry young men. Folks, this doesn't end well. We are a nation that has so many guns. We're literally funding an army for the cartel. Those guns aren't made in Mexico. They're not bought in Mexico. They're here, shipped to Mexico. We're literally, we have so much spillover, we can create entire armies in other countries for the number of guns our populace has. And one party is saying, well, you know what? Let's really piss them off bad and then screw them. This doesn't end well, folks. This really doesn't end well. Louis Kilgo, those willing to fight for their own self-interest can usually be bought. Authoritarians attack the weakest members of our society to identify those willing to fight for others. Excellent point, and thanks for the support. $20 is a lot of money, my friend. I really appreciate it. Kay Allen, and thanks for always being here. Stop demonizing the Dems. Amen. Amen. No circular firing squads. Steve N., if the company boards can fire a CEO, why can't Americans fire the president? It really should be a law. Again, Texas Paul, run for office. Texas Paul, run for. Okay, that's fine. But you know what's going to happen is you're not going to get your high school diploma unless you can pass a civics exam. Because if we can't answer this question right here, Steve, and I appreciate you putting it up there, no smoke towards you, my friend. There's a very simple, straightforward answer for that question. One party is a rubber stamp for the president, and the president is doing what the billionaire Broligarch backers of that party, the ones that write the checks, pay for the steaks, pay for the private club memberships, they're doing everything those people want. It's a small handful of super rich people. That party will not impeach the president, and the other party, we took away their power. It's not complex. It's not complex. We did this. Newest bill, politicians cannot solve addiction. That is a job for doctors, counselors, and family. Amen, brother. Amen. And you know what? I've never met an addict that a prison record helped. Peter, thanks for the support, man. $50 is a lot of money, brother. Texas Paul, I can't give you $2 billion in one day like Charles Schwab got from the pump and dump, but I hope this helps keep your mic on. I appreciate you, brother. That is a lot of support. I appreciate you. V-Man, the key is after the administration, pardon me. The key is after this administration is to hold the GOP accountable for their BS. Thank you. Thank you. Amen, brother. Amen. We have been letting these people off the hook since 1865. It's going to come home to roost, folks. And that's what I leave sleep over at night. Are we going to be able to control it when it happens? Because the things that they're doing, and we got several things to talk about, are so extreme and hurt so many of the people that they are really, you see it. Your MAGA dumbass uncle that lives off the government. When this all comes home to roost and he realizes that the Broligarchs, and he will, hunger is a hell of an eye-opener. When he realizes it's all going away, because that's what the Broligarchs need. We're going to talk a little bit more about this budget here for a minute. This exploding of the government, the debt, folks, this is not a never-ending road. It's not. We go into hyperinflation in about 10 years. I keep telling you this. Actually, it's less than 10 years now. It's about 9.5 years. This is a ticking time bomb. And the Broligarchs are cashing in one last time. That's what this whole Trump administration was about. They knew he was awful. They didn't care. They know they can see the end of this road and that shit was really going to have to change. I mean, you're going to see our military go away because we won't be able to afford it. And they're trying to make sure that every single thing that we would do for the common person is gone. So when it comes time for them to start paying the bill is as small as possible. This is a calculated plan. Wipe out Medicaid so that in 10 years, when shit goes off the rails and we have to actually start paying our bills, which they will, America will either die or we will start taxing the Broligarchs. It's that simple. In 9.5 years, we will either start taxing the Broligarchs or America will die. They're just trying to make sure that tax bill is as small as possible. What happens to Cletus, who has 10,000 rounds of ammunition and half a dozen assault rifles instead of dental insurance? I'm telling you, folks, it's a serious conversation we need to start having. Wild talks and nature walks until Democrats get the majority back in Congress. Impeachment will not be on the table. We have to get out and vote. Amen, brother. Amen. Glad to see that messaging is getting through. Grateful Dad, ATX, so much garbage from this administration every day. I forget it. I forgot it was Sunday. I'm very grateful for you and your thorough breakdowns on what is really happening. Thank you for being here. And $20 is a lot of money. I'm very grateful for that support. Nika T, new supporter. Thanks for being here. Texas Paul, thank you for keeping us informed. Thank you for being here. And Helen, yeah, Trump is hitting South Texas hard. Yeah. What are we going to do? We got troops down on the border. What is that going to do for the people that need health care? And folks, this budget, I can't stress to you enough. The rhetoric about, efficiency, we're going to cut spending, and we're going to, all of that nonsense that they keep talking, it's like another Elon Musk promise. Doge is like everything else Elon Musk promises. If you listen to some right-winger dumbass, some armed to the teeth, MAGA, pissed off white guy, he thinks that the government is slashing spending. It's not. It's not. See, the reality is either you make old people indigent or you don't cut spending. This isn't hard, folks. This is mainly driven by Social Security. We've been saying we're an aging. Remember that conversation we had back in the 80s and the 90s about, hey, we're getting old. We're not having enough kids. Dinks, dual income, no kids. Remember all those conversations we had about this can't last? Yeah, that's what this chart means. Despite them claiming, despite them saying, oh, Doge, we're slashing government, we're shrinking government. Oh no, you're not. Spending under the Trump administration is higher than it was under the Biden administration or the Obama administration. It's literally they're spending more, not less. But if you talk to your average dumbass Cletus out there, your crazy drunk uncle, he thinks Elon Musk just come on in and he just, all them government jobs and people just sitting around collecting them paychecks doing nothing. Meanwhile, did my Social Security check show up? Okay, yeah. All right, good. But they don't do nothing. They do nothing. Just free money. They just want everything free. Yeah, those people are driving that spending. And we've really come to the point where they just passed a budget where they're like, okay, we're going to have to start hurting people. And the first people they went after, and it's not the last people that they're going to hurt, it's just the first ones, are the ones that can't hire lawyers, are the ones that can't fight back. They're the least likely among us to be able to do a damn thing about it. Folks, if you are on Medicaid, you fall into two classes. Something has really drastically happened in your life where you have been made indigent and infirm, or you are very, very old and you are in a retirement home. Those are the two biggest beneficiaries of Medicaid. It's Mima in the old folks' home. Ask the audience. We are an audience full of people that have to live in reality. Ask them about their elder relatives that are in retirement homes. Overwhelmingly, these places are paid for by Medicaid. And they just gutted it. They just gutted it. And they gutted it for no other reason than to give Johnny Got Rocks and the Broligarchs more tax cuts that are exploding our deficit. They're talking about another $6.5 trillion added to the deficit. It's a lie. Everything they do is a lie. And they're so, you want to know how incompetent they are? Signalgate, they're still using those private phones. They're still using that free app that you can download off the internet for their security. Today, right now, you have Pete Hegseth has a personal private phone that he is sitting there communicating on as head of the DOD. This is how incompetent they are. And it just keeps happening everywhere, all over the place. Kay Allen, reverse all the Broligarch tax cuts and all that Reagan did. They're going to have to, folks. It's the only way the maths. I am telling you, you heard it here. 9.5 years, the military will be gone. And they will have to be taxing the crap out of the Broligarchs. The math, it's the only way the maths. And instead of just doing the right thing over the last several decades and paying some taxes, the Broligarchs have skipped out on their responsibility And they've created this. They did it. They bought the media to make this happen. And everything they do is the worst possible outcomes. I mean, folks, look, let's jump around. It's Sunday. We can do whatever we want. Let's jump around. This just happened. Remember we slashed U.S. aid? Everybody likes to talk about, if you look at the virtue signalers on social media, it's all about genocide and this, that, and the other. Folks, we just had a nightmare in Sudan. When we slashed U.S. aid, famine broke out everywhere. So you already have that situation. Well, the RSF, I told you about the government and the RSF. I'm not going to rehash all of it, but the RSF, they want these people gone. So what did they do? In the Zamzam refugee camp that houses hundreds of thousands of people, they went in and they started killing doctors. Yeah. Relief International, an international charity that sent doctors down there because there is a famine crisis going on. Their people were killed. They went into the local towns and destroyed the hospitals. And our policy, Johnny Gyrock says, man, that those bags of flour were too much, man. Those bags of rice were too much. No. If we keep doing that, we're going to have to pay for it. And I don't want to have to pay for that bill. So yeah, famine and, in fact, we're not going to be involved in this at all. We'll just let the worst of the worst happen. Folks, what do you think happens in these situations? What do you think happens? These are human they keep forgetting these are human beings. Folks, we're harder to kill than cockroaches. We really are. I don't know if you know anybody that's know anything about suicide. Most suicide attempts fail. We are a hard creature to kill. We are. And I got to tell you, these people aren't going to go away. They're going to see these nightmarish things, and you're going to create a group of people that are psychopaths. This is how you make terrorism, folks. This is how you make terrorism. Right here. And it's not just Sudan. What do you think the people of Ukraine are turning into right now? Middle of Palm Sunday, Russia lobs ballistic missiles into the capital city of Sumy in Ukraine. Sumy is an oblast, a state oblast in Ukraine, and Sumy is the capital. The city of Sumy is the capital. Palm Sunday is supposed to be the middle of peace negotiations. Russia just hit them with ballistic missiles. After this many years of war, what do you think these people are like? Would you suspect best case scenario, they're pretty harsh people? And they're going to be around, folks. I hate to keep saying this. People are harder to kill than cockroaches. They're going to be here. So how we treat them matters. What you get on the other side of how you treat someone matters. And I'm telling you, folks, these Republicans are just dumb as dog snot. They keep, just this kind of blatant greed right here. Y'all know who Jack Dorsey is? Used to run Twitter before Elon bought it. And, the average person that was on Twitter was like, because Twitter used to be a half-assed decent place before Elon bought it. Everybody was like, oh, well, Jack Dorsey must have been a great guy. He wasn't. he was a Broligarch. He wasn't. He just wasn't as stupid as Elon. He's not a nice guy. Kurt Aiken. Will the disinformation complex hold fast and the armed, angry folks support the Broligarchs, or will it be revolution against them? It'll be against them. Hunger clarifies. There will be some. There always is. This is never a zero-sum game. There will be some that are nutters that will go down to the bitter end that Elon was their friend. But yeah, no, the majority of them, hunger and pain clarify. They do. Med USA, thank you for being here. When Meemaw gets kicked out of the old folks home because the old folks home is closing down, which is going to happen, it's just math, folks. These places can't stay open without the Medicaid. These old folks homes, especially in rural areas like where I live, they can't exist without Medicaid. And it's already gone. The funding is gutted. So yeah, I mean, hopes and prayers don't keep old folks' homes open. Money does. Money does. And that money's gone. So yeah, they're going to close. And they're going to see Meemaw come home. And they're not going to be able to blame the Democrats. That is the one thing that has been smart. Everybody likes to shit all over Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, and they find a reason to be pissed at Democrats. Well, one thing that they've been really smart about is you can't blame Democrats for shit about what's going on. And these angry, pissed off white guys, they got no one to blame but Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Randy Oliver, if you're hungry, you will hunt. Yes, exactly. You will do what you have to do. And that's where the crime comes from. And let me tell you something, folks. One of the things that's killing this administration and their bigoted message is that immigrants commit fewer crimes than the average population. They're just good and decent people interested in working. They are. So what do you do if you're the Trump regime and you're Stephen Miller and you want to push your bigotry and you want to push your hate? You push those immigrants into desperate situations, because desperate people, you will steal not to starve. You will. You will sell what you have to sell. Folks, have you ever heard that expression, he doesn't have a pot to piss in? He doesn't have a pot to piss in? Okay. Let me tell you the story behind that. E.T., dictators need a military, but it will be a shadow of itself, and we would likely lose a war if someone wants to invade. Absolutely. We're going to be an all-volunteer army again. All right, that old expression, he doesn't have a pot to piss in. You know where that comes from? There was a time when in Europe when people were so poor that to make money, they would have a pot that they would pee in. And then they would sell that pee because there were people that used it to make gunpowder. Part of what's in your pee is what they used to make gunpowder out of. The expression, he doesn't have a pot to piss in, meant that you were so poor. Not only were you so poor, you were having to collect pee in your home. And yes, tan leather, there were lots of uses for it, but they used to make gunpowder out of it, tan leather. There were lots of uses. They would literally collect piss in their home to sell it. People were that poor. And if you didn't have a pot to piss in, you were even poorer than that. That's where that expression comes from. Folks, we're headed back to that. We just are. Yeah, I love you people so damn much. Look at all the people that know exactly what I'm talking about. Normally when I tell that story, people are like, no, not really. That's not really true, is it? And then, no, not this crowd. They're like, oh yeah, it was used in wool processing. And then, and Martha's here. It was used to set dyes in fabric. You people knew what I love you people so damn much. I am telling you, and we have to remember, your dumbasses that are out there, Trump was just at a UFC fight on Saturday. Those people don't know shit. They're not us. And we have to remember that when we do our messaging, when we go into these campaigns, that is my cautionary message. That's where we screwed the pooch in the last election, is we forgot they're much freaking dumber than us. We can never forget that. We can never forget that. But yeah, they've got to they want to take immigrants and make them so desperate. They say they're trying to make them leave, but I'm telling you, it's much more nefarious than that. Because if you wanted somebody to leave, self-deport. If you wanted somebody to self-deport, what would you need? Okay, let me lead into it this way. Let's pretend for 1 second they aren't lying. I'm going to read a couple comments here, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to answer. This is Sunday. This is the full roundtable show, the whole show. I want feedback on this question. If you wanted someone to self-deport, what would they need? What basic thing would they need to be able to do that? Answer that question while I read these comments. Jeanette Dahl, glad to see my Danish friend in the audience. I love that we have so many people from Denmark here in the show. Love you folks. Norway, where my people are from. I'm from northern Germany, up around Schleswig-Holstein and up in Norway. Glad to see so many of our European friends in the audience. I'm telling you, just the interaction. Most Americans don't get that. We're a very isolated people. Jeanette Dahl says, who will buy the U.S. debt now? That is needed if those tax cuts are to come to fruition. Yeah, that is one of the nightmares that we're facing. I keep telling you, this is happening. In 9.5 years, we are going to go full on Soviet Union collapse if we don't change things. We are. Asborn Knudsen, smart people don't want to listen to dumb people speaking, so we are here listening to you. Thank you, Mr. Knudsen, man. I am so glad you were here. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, audio cut out for just a second. I'm really glad you're here. I am really glad you're here. Thanks for the support, Mark. I appreciate you. All right, so let's go back to the question. I appreciate you. $2 is $2, my friend. I appreciate you. Kay Allen coming out strong today. All of us come from somewhere else. Eventually, yeah, we all did. And I tell you what, that's what pisses me off too, is that whole stolen land thing. I got news for you. It's all stolen land. There is not a square inch of ground on this thing we call Earth that someone else didn't own at some point, that someone else didn't come take. It's all stolen land. All of it. We need to act like, cut the tribalism and start just getting along with each other. We all do better when we all do better. Let's focus on how people are doing. Okay, folks, let's but I don't want to lose track of it. Let's get back to the question. If it was real, you know how they always made that argument. Well, we don't have a problem with immigrants, which was a lie because I listened to them talk. I know they're freaking bigots. We don't have a problem with immigrants. We just want them to come here legally. And then they slice the hamstring of every bill and every chance that comes up to actually fix the immigration system. So it's not really, that isn't the truth. It's proven it's not the truth. They don't want them to come here legally because they make it impossible for them to come here legally. That kind of thing. Let's look at that question. Well, we want them to self-deport. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you were to self-deport, what would you need? Bingo. Mandolius, thanks for being here, friend. I appreciate you. This is one of the new viewers of the show. Passport, you'd need documentation. Money. Travel ain't free, and you got to eat from here to there. You got to have a place to pee. You've got to have logistics. If you want to self-deport, it ain't free. Passport, money, and someplace safe to go. Because you know, how many of you are going to willingly climb into a wood chipper? How many of you would willingly climb into a wood chipper? You've got to have someplace safe to go. All right. If you need those things and you want people to self-deport, what would be the one thing you would do to just absolutely that ability? Lenore Banks, thanks for being here. Right. You need some sort of bus tickets, airline tickets. You would need money, right? Well, if you're a Republican and you say you want people to self-deport, of course you're going to do this. Trump administration overrode Social Security staff to list immigrants as dead. There's a guy by the name of Pearre, Pearre, Pearre. And I know I'm probably mispronouncing his name. He was the head of the Social Security IT department, where Doge came in. And Doge said, we're going to just declare these immigrants dead. And the staff said, that's illegal. You can't do that. If an immigrant comes in and goes through the system, gets a green card, gets a Social Security account, you can't just declare them dead. There are repercussions to that, because you know who uses that system? The death notice system from Social Security? Banks. Banks do. Credit card companies. Every department in the United States government uses that system. So let's talk about the things you would need to self-deport. First one on the list was passport. Guess what happens when you go to apply for the documentation to leave and you're dead? Well, at least that's what the system says. You don't get your paperwork. Okay. Well, so let's say you've had enough of this. Pinky Lee, thanks for supporting us. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for keeping the lights on. So you decide you've had enough. Okay. So you go down to buy your airline ticket. Your credit card doesn't work. Can't do that. Your bank accounts are frozen. Ask anybody in this audience what happened to their relatives' bank accounts when their relative died, when that bank got notification that relative died. What happened to the bank account? You're freezing up all of their assets. They can't get money. They can't travel. Wait a minute. I thought you said you wanted them to self-deport. And keep in mind, folks, these are immigrants doing it legally. These are the ones presenting themselves, going through the process, and filing the paperwork. That's why they have these. That's why the Social Security system knows they exist. No, they're not drawing Social Security. It doesn't work that way. But the Social Security system knows they exist because everybody relies on the Social Security system, death verification system. And some punk ass little bitch dog piece of shit thought it would be a great idea to just declare these people dead. And the guy that runs the system said, that's a crime. You're falsifying government information. You're falsifying government data. That's a crime. You can't do that. So what did Doge do? You know those people that we can't figure out who they work for, but they suddenly work for Doge and they're carrying badges? Yeah, about a half a dozen of those guys showed up, beat the shit out of the guy, and drug him out of his office. Literally drug him out of his office. Why would they do that? Why would they create this situation? Sharon Reddy, 69 million women will be disenfranchised by the SAVE Act. It will cost hundreds to get document tracking. You know what? The SAVE Act, I'm still waiting for more information to come out on that so I can give you correct information. That was going to be like Wednesday's show. But yeah, that's the kind of idiocy that has happened. The SAVE Act, we'll talk about it in detail more. I kind of don't like to be the first person to talk about these things. I like to be the person that talks about the real ramifications of it. Kate Marylight, we're headed straight back to McCarthy era censorship, just a complete attack on the First Amendment. Now green card holders and the rest of us real thinkers dragging us all off to El Salvador. That, folks, has entered the realm of discussion that's not out in crazy land anymore. It is amazing just how insane this is. And just so you know, I like to bring receipts. Let me pull it up for you real quick, so that you know I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. Yeah, this really happened. I mean, it really happened. They literally drug him from his office. How would you pronounce that? Pearre. You know, I was a stickler for wanting to be respectful and correctly pronounce people's names. Greg Pear. Pear. I'm going with pear. Y'all tell me, how do you think? I mean, like pear, like the fruit. This is the guy that was telling them this is illegal. You can't do that. And it doesn't even serve the purposes of what you're trying to do. It literally does the opposite of what you're trying to do. Is it Pierre? Is it like Pierre, like Pierre, Pierre? I don't know. We'll find out because he's going to be on the news. I guarantee you, this is going to be a huge story. Yeah, I get it, folks. I do. I'm getting notes saying that the internet is pixelated. I'm sorry about that. That is just Texas. That is just Texas. Doc Sanchez, come and try to take me to El Salvador. Bring lunch. It's crazy. It is just insane the things that they are doing. And the morons, the UFC class, dumbass young white bros that are like, they're trying to take my toys away. They're trying to take my guns away. Yeah, no, folks, no. And it's not just them. Look at this. I was talking about Jack Dorsey a minute ago. Circle back around to that. Yeah, Jack Dorsey's nobody's hero. You know, with all AI is for these guys is a way to steal intellectual property. The Broligarchs have always had to pay people, talented people, musicians, make money because they own the intellectual, they own their own art, artists. You know, look, let me give you an example. This just came to mind. I didn't even think about it. Okay, y'all know I sell mugs and stuff, right? To support the show. Here, old Jack Dorsey says, delete all IP law. He's talking about intellectual property law. Elon Musk down here, I agree. Really, dude? Let me show you this, okay? I'm a video game addict, right? And I make mugs. I can also make tumblers, right? There was nothing cool out there for the video game that I like to play. I'm hooked on Fallout 76. So I made one of my own, designed and made one of my own. I don't sell this. This whole thing, this whole Fallout 76 thing, that's someone else's intellectual property. I don't sell that. I can't. That's thievery. That's theft. I mean, it's one thing for me to make my own thing for me to look at. That is one thing. I can drink out of this all day long. I can't sell this. But what do the Broligarchs want? They want AI that can just, reimagine somebody else's art just a little bit and it's theirs. They take it and they don't have to pay for it anymore. These are not good people. And again, go back to the theme of what happens when nobody can make it anymore. You become you're a wonderfully talented musician that creates amazing music, and you can't make it anymore because they just take your sound, your song, wash it through a system, Chat GPT or whatever your favorite AI platform is, and then sell it without paying you a dime. Folks, think about the end of the road on that, because they're not. All they're thinking about is how much money they're going to make. I know I'm staying up at night, chest tight, really worried about, you Republicans thought it was a great idea to manipulate and piss off and foment the idea of overthrowing the government and violence, and January 6th wasn't a crime and yada, 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 yada. This shit comes home to roost. All of your policies hurt these people. How do you think they're going to react when Meemaw gets rolled out to the curb? Because their old folks' home is closing down, and now they got to wipe Meemaw's butt. Used to be an immigrant that worked at the old folks' home. And no, I'm not being racist there. Go to an old folks' home and see who does that job. When they say immigrants take jobs that Americans don't want and won't do, that's one of them. Well, now you're going to have to wipe Meemaw's butt. Yeah. Immigrants work their asses off, folks. They take care of us. They take care of us. And this is coming home faster than you think. This is coming home faster than you think. We talked about disasters before. You remember the Maui fires? Remember Lahaina and all of that? They're still rebuilding. They're still rebuilding. Even now. One of the problems that you see in rebuilding is infrastructure gets torn up. Well, do you just patch it and go on? Or if your infrastructure is completely decimated, like happened in Lahaina, do you start over and say, well, look, we got to start over. Let's do it right this time. So Lahaina is struggling. They've got two different camps. One camp says, look, we're doing it over again. Bury the power lines. And then you've got the other side of it that says, no, we got to rebuild right away. We got to put people in as fast as humanly possible. Just throw up some cheap ass poles and let's do this. And they're fighting it out, folks. They're fighting it out. Look, this is going on right now. And I'm going somewhere with this. Stick with me. There's a reason I'm talking about this.
First at 5, as more homes are rebuilt in Lahaina, a new challenge is leaving residents powerless. Our Chelsea Davis says that's because Hawaiian Electric is facing its own challenge.
Rebuilding efforts are well underway here in Wahikuli, but a lot of the residents still don't have electricity. So even if they rebuild, they can't move in. Jeremy Delos Reyes says Hawaiian Electric crews dug this hole for a power pole near his home on Ainakea Road about a week ago. It's a tiny bit of progress in an area that has no timeline for rest.
So you get it, right? I mean, you get it. We don't have to listen to that whole thing. You get it. Yeah, silly bee boo. The old Monty Python skit, Bring Out Your Dead. Toyota Corolla, thanks for being here, man. New donor. It's good to see you. Hey, Paul, Gen Z watcher and huge Fallout nerd. Me too, brother. Me too. Bringing out, finding out you play too, just cemented you as the cool grandpa in my eyes. Keep fighting, dude. Love the content. Hey, man, we Wastelanders got to stick together, right? Anna, thanks for supporting the show. Thanks. But look, yeah, I mean, you get it, right? You get the point. Even this far after, they still don't really, it takes time to rebuild. So those bills to rebuild, they don't come immediately. And that's the important part. That's where I'm going with this. It's a process and it takes time. Not only do you need emergency housing to meet people's basic needs, but when you go to rebuild, it takes time. And there will be more later. I mean, Hurricane Helene hit North Carolina, right? Colleen Sarah, thanks for being here. Perlinda McMahon, so much A1 in education, a great thing. Education is doomed. Yeah, they don't want to have to pay for it later. Gut it now, right? Just have a bunch of stupid idiots running around. This picture kind of sums up what I'm talking about. This is after Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. This is a lot what it looks like where I live, by the way. I live in a forest. But this is North Carolina. Now you can just have crews come through and, prop that back up, but it takes time. It takes time just to rebuild the infrastructure. And all of this has to be rebuilt before you can rebuild the homes. And it's not just electricity. And that's just one small road, one small example. Thank you, Deborah, for got to tell me how to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Focer, Focer, or is it Fokker? Tell me in the comments, please. Thank you for supporting the show. Love to see all you new folks coming out supporting the show. Love it. Amy Manuel, longtime supporter. Great song by Tom Russell. Who's going to build your wall? There's one thing that I most fear. It's a white man in a golf shirt with a cell phone in his ear. Amen. Amen. But you're understanding the point I'm making, right? Thanks, Amy, for always being here. You're understanding the point that I'm making, right? That the whole process of rebuilding, you have stabilized people, get people out of the weather, get them basic water. Then you have to go back and you have to rebuild all the infrastructure before you can rebuild the first home. It's a process and it takes time. Well, what do you think the Republicans are doing? The dummies, the idiots, the people that don't understand. North Carolina just lost their matching FEMA funds. There are places in North Carolina, exactly, sewer, water, power, all the infrastructure has to be rebuilt after devastation like that. There are places in North Carolina where they have not rebuilt the first house from Helene because they're just finishing up the infrastructure. And the Trump regime just cut off their matching FEMA funds. What do you think happens to those angry white guys? Cecile Kazemi, it's all about GQP's magic thinking. None of it is based in reality. None of it is based in reality. It's all to serve the Broligarchs. The Broligarchs say they don't want to pay for it. They're not going to pay for it. The GOP's not going to make them pay for it. But you can't spin it. There's no way. Everything that's ever gone wrong, the Republican media machine has been really good at saying, look, that's why it's the Democrats' fault. That's why, look, they don't want to rebuild your house. They just want to take care of transgender people, and transgender people are getting their houses rebuilt. I bet you that. You can't do that here. We Democrats don't run shit. This is all Trump screwing you. And it is before your houses get rebuilt. Amen. Linda Orndorff, thank you for always being here with the great information. And now all the rebuild costs are way more because of the tariffs. Yeah, I mean, they just don't think about anything. What happens when you get them North Carolina NASCAR boys? Yeah, even those idiots can figure out where this screwing is coming from. What do you think happens next? Mr. Knudsen, in from Norway. Fallout New Vegas with the wild card FNW mod 800 pack installed with Wabberjack installer. 2010 Magic Returns. Best game in the series. You knew Vegas. I'm sorry. Pause for a second. We're going to talk about gamer nerd stuff for just 1 second. Stick with me. I won't go long. I have to straighten Mr. Knudsen out. These New Vegas guys, these Fallout New Vegas guys think it's the best thing that was ever created. And I got to tell you, I like Fallout 4 more. There, I said it. Now watch the numbers plummet because everybody else hated Fallout 4. I thought the writing in New Vegas was incredible. It was. But the actual gameplay, Fallout 4 was better. All right, gamer nerd stuff over. I am so, see what I mean about having an international audience, man? You never know. You never know. You never know. But look, guys, back to seriousness now. What do you think happens with those pissed off white guys in North Carolina that they've been selling bullshit about? Oh man, they don't know what's a woman. What's a woman? Tell me what a woman is. You know that stupid ass question they always ask? Can you tell me what a woman is? How far does that go when, the FEMA money gets cut off? This doesn't end well, folks. This doesn't end well. Josh Jameson, hey, Paul, if you like the Last of Us Season 2 starts tonight. I've been so tied up into the politics and stuff. I just binge watched Orange is the New Black. I had never watched it. And I'm catching up one after. I'm doing Better Call Saul right now. I'm just binge watching all of these different series. And I didn't watch The Last of Us yet. I'm gonna have to binge watch it too. And by the way, Orange is the New Black. I think it might have hit different when you watched it one episode at a time, like one a week when it came out, if you followed it. But if you binge watch it, it is softcore lesbian porn. That's all it is. I did not enjoy that series at all. The Devil of Dallas, Team Splinter Cell, now Sniper Elite 5. Oh my God, I have opened the Pandora's gamer box. I have. Don Dorf, thank you. $20 is a lot of money, folks. I know that. Thank you for supporting the show so strongly. My tuition for my Texas Paul weekly class, Governor Shapiro, a real politician trying to serve the people, mansion set fire by arsonists. We are in scary times. I'm telling you, folks, it is. And no, not all the morons are going to wake up and realize, when they get desperate, are going to realize that it's the Republicans that have been screwing them. Some of them are going to buy. There is a machine here, a well-funded machine that puts out nothing but propaganda for the right wing. And they're going to try really hard to blame that on Democrats, but you can't blame it on Democrats. Fallout 4 in Boston for the win. God, I've really opened Pandora's box. I have. And by the way, watch the series, the Fallout series. It'll be next year sometime before season 2. Give you plenty of time to go back and watch season 1. Watch the television series, the Fallout television series. But that's it. I got to leave the gaming behind. This is a politics show, damn it. And it's not just disaster relief, folks. It's not. Asborn Newton, if you can't recognize a woman, you got a problem. I married one and she gives me hell and pleasure in equal measures. Yeah, but that's not why they're asking the question. They're asking the question because they don't understand that what a transgender person is. To them, it's just somebody wanting to play dress up that has mental illness. That is not the case. A transgender person has just to Cliff's notes it's down. So please, no ugly emails. A transgender woman is someone that is born with a male chromosome, but when their mind forms, the amygdala, the white matter in their brain, all of it forms as a woman. So what they are in their mind and what they see doesn't, and what the Y chromosome builds in their genitals are two different things. And they have to live a life trying to comport those things together. And instead of just supporting our transgender brothers and sisters who are dealing with that issue alone, could you imagine how hard it would be to not fit in your own body? Because that is medically what's happening. The construct of the mind. To me, being a man is how you act and how you are and what you do. Not just your penis. There are a lot of boys out there that 40, 50-year-old boys out there that aren't men. It has nothing to do with your genitalia. It's what's in your mind. And they can't put it together. So they ask that question, do you even know what a woman is? Yeah, I do. Believe me, I've seen more naked than you have. I've had more relationships than you have. I know a lot about women. I may not be one, but I know a lot about women, much more than you. And I also know enough to know that a transgender man has 2 X chromosomes, but her mind, the construct in her mind, tells her she's a man. And you know what? That doesn't hurt me at all. That doesn't affect me at all. And no, he's not playing dress up. It's who he is. Mind your business. Anyway, sorry, got on the whole transgender track. I'm sorry about that. William Brown, first time donation because I have a bit of pocket money for once and wanted to support. Appreciate everything you do. Mr. Brown, thank you for being here. You new supporters are what I've talked about it before. I was in serious stress. A lot of great people that were supporting the show, but it's you new supporters that let us know that we're going to make it, man. We're going to be here forever. Mr. Knudsen, Trump is less of a man than a transgender joining the military. You know what? I don't find transgender people to be lesser in any way. I don't. In fact, I'm seeing a person. Let me tell you what I see when I see a transgender person. I'm seeing a person that in a completely unforgiving society has survived in dealing with something that I could not even begin to imagine dealing with. Think about how hard life is for you, a non-transgender person. Now imagine having to deal with the concept that your mind and your body don't match. Yeah, I admire transgender people. I do. I'm not ashamed to say it. You show me a transgender person that is thriving and surviving, and I will show you one of the strongest people you've ever seen in your life, because we are a very unforgiving society. But I don't want to get off in the weeds. Sharon Reddy, a woman is whatever she wants to be. Amen. Amen. I just wanted to answer your question there, and so that you get it. But they're also, this. Our farmers are out there banging away, putting food on our table every damn day. And these Republicans don't care. They don't really care. They don't do enough research to actually know what they're doing before they do something. They're just morons. They're morons. This is just one way that Trump is just sticking it to our farmers through his idiotic tariff and unnecessary trade wars and trade policy that's just stupid. This is a real trend that is hurting soybean farmers. Soybeans are a huge crop. I'm sure the audience will be able to tell you soybeans have so many uses. It's not just like eating beans. They're in everything. They're a huge source of protein, so our food industry uses them in so much. I guarantee you, people in the chat, I can't even see the chat because I'm looking at this chart full screen. I guarantee you, when I click back, there will be people in the chat explaining all the different uses for soybeans. By year, this is where our soybean purchases are coming from. Where soybean purchases, our soybean exports to China, forgive me. Let me clarify that. This is a chart explaining our soybean exports to China. China also uses our soybeans like crazy in just a myriad of products. Our farmers used to feed the world. 2018 was the last trade war. Folks, China's not going to go away. That spike dead center in the map. That's from the last Trump administration. China isn't just going to, they're people. I told you, people will find a way to survive. They will find a way to go forward. We cut off their soybeans. Do you think they just stopped eating? No. They went to Brazil and said, hey, if we invest in you, will you sell us soybeans? And the Brazilian farmer said, yeah, we're really fighting hard to become an agricultural powerhouse in the world. Folks, most of the meat you buy in this country it's Brazilian companies that own it. Folks, you do not understand the absolute agricultural powerhouse that Brazil has become. And that blue line on the bottom, that's our soybean sales to China. You notice net sales have been increasing, but not from us. It's been flat. What do you think's happening now with the tariffs? Those numbers haven't come out yet. Our farmers are getting decimated again, while Brazil is uniquely positioned to, again, take more market share, as you can tell from this chart, permanently from us. And I no stimulus check, no bullshit Trump bucks that he sends to the farmers are ever going to fix that. Ever. Mendolius, my cousin is trans. She's moving to Spain. I don't blame her. I don't blame her. Exactly, Dean. What they don't use in our food production goes into animal feed. If you're eating meat, you're eating soybeans because I guarantee you it's in the feed. Dr. Don, this is real. This is real. Farmers sat in their tractors, in their pickup trucks, listening to AM radio, and their politics is dumb as dog shit right now. Kay Allen, Bricks is winning. You know what? I got to tell you, it's not looking good. It's not. And who do we have? The absolute biggest morons. If you saw that situation with Brazil, and Brazil making gains in the world market, decimating our American farmers, and you wanted to do right by our American farmers, what would you do? Damn sure not what Trump's doing. Damn sure not what Trump's doing. Because you're just making it worse. And that is the overarching theme for these people. Everything they do makes it worse. I don't care if it's drug policy. I don't care if it's ornamental plants in your garden. I don't care if it's immigration. I don't care if it's the budget. I don't care if it's our own freaking survival. Everything they do is wrong. It's just wrong. And these are the people we're talking about. I want you to listen. This is RFK Jr. talking. Just listen to him. Just listen. Just listen to him. He's talking about autism.
And we have, we have now the autism rates have gone from now most recent numbers we think are going to be about 1 in 31, 1 in 20. So they're going up again from 1 in 10,000 when I was a kid. And we are going at your direction. We are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31.
Okay. A long time ago, almost everybody died of consumption. Like if you go to the Old West, people died of consumption. And nobody had cancer. At least that's what the doctors said. You know why? Because they didn't know. Consumption was kind of a catch-all. If you got weak and had a respiratory issue and died, they called it consumption. It was just a catch-all. Tuberculosis, consumption. Kind of the same thing with autism. We used to call them different things. We didn't really know. What we did, though, is we studied autism and we learned about the spectrum. We learned how to test for it. We learned about different behaviors that are associated with autism, and we found out a lot more people have autism than we ever knew. It's not a lot more people are getting autism. It's we're much better at identifying it. But if you're a grifter, Glenn Kaneko, thanks for being here. He says he didn't know what or who bricks are. Yeah, they're morons. They're morons. Just listen to them talk about autism and how stupid they are. And we're not even there yet, folks. We're still developing tests to identify this. We just are. It's kind of like we never identified cancer before. And now all of a sudden we do. We can. We've got the tools. We can find it. We just used to say, oh, he had a heart attack. And no, he actually died of a form of cancer. Or, oh, he had consumption. Or, oh, he had. No, we can actually test. We find it. We see it. So the numbers change. These morons are part of the grifter class. Now, if you can't build anything, if you can't run a lab, if you can't do research, if you can't actually contribute to the economy, what can you do if you want to make money off of this? You just tell everybody, well, look, the numbers change. It's got to be X, Y, or Z, whatever your grift is that you're selling, with nothing to support it. You're not actually building anything, studying anything, or doing anything. You're just out here telling people that colloidal silver will help your immune system. And then you sell people colloidal silver and turn them into freaking Smurfs. Yeah, that ivermectin I give my horse for worms, that'll cure your COVID. Really? Cletus? Let me see your study. I don't need to study. It helps my horse. I take it. Does me good. 2 years later, Cletus has ivermectin syndrome because he shit his intestinal lining out, because that's what that strong of an ivermectin actually ends up doing to you, is you crap out the linings of your stomach and your intestines, and you create a whole new disease. And some grifter will come along later and say, oh man, it's my magic mouse milk that cures. We never used to have ivermectin syndrome, which they'll come up another name for it. It's that corn syrup. Buy my mouse milk, it'll fix it. With no studies, whatever. That's who's running our government right now. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been a bullshit conspiracy grifter his entire life. And now we've given him the government, and he says, by September, we'll know the cause of autism. Really, Cletus? Really? You think so? You think so? You think they're just going to figure it out by September? It's not the way any of this works, folks. It's not the way any of this works. It takes long-term studies and a long time to actually figure this stuff out. You know, you never hear about anybody dying of consumption anymore, do you? Veggie Owl Girl, thanks for being here. Vaccines do not cause autism. One scientist said it did. The rest of the scientists said he was full of it. I think money was involved. Absolutely. You had one guy out there that could make a lot of money. You know, if you got an entire industry that's all working the same direction, that's doing work, and it takes work to do what you're doing, and you're not even guaranteed, if you're a pharmaceutical company, to actually make it, you know, but you get one guy over here that doesn't have to invest in any infrastructure or anything like that, but he sells an alternative on the same topic. That guy's going to carve off a lot of people. A lot of people that are just desperate. What happens when this all comes home to roost? Because it will. Because that whole, you know, there was a scientific study that proved people would rather die than admit they were wrong. They did. They proved it. Actually did a psychological study on people, and more people would actually admit they would actually die than admit they were wrong. And those people, man, they're in charge. They're driving the train right now. Yeah, I hear you, ET. I hear you, brother. I hear you. But this is happening. This is really happening. Rather than the light hitting these cockroaches and them scattering, no, they're just getting rid of all the insecticide. They're just getting rid of all the science. What's going to happen by September is they're going to bury all the legitimate science. They're going to cut off the funding for all the legitimate science. And then they're just going to sell their mouse milk. And people are going to die. And we're going to have a brain drain because you know what? I hate to tell you this, Cletus. The United States of America ain't the center of the universe. We got airplanes, Cletus. You can fly to other countries. And people that are smart enough to do this kind of research have options. And we are in the middle of a massive brain drain. And it may be our grandchildren before we finally recover from it. It may be our grandchildren's generation before we finally recover from it. Because these people are admit they were wrong. If daylight drives the cockroaches away, they're going to tinfoil over the windows. They're going to break all the light bulbs. So, we got a little bit of time left. What do you think happens at the end of this? Connie Leiden, thanks for being here. I appreciate the support. I really do. I hate to end the show on a negative note. But what do you think we're going to go through before we get to the other side? We are an incredibly armed society. You could not. That's why I laugh about they're coming for your guns. Dude, they couldn't come for your guns if they wanted to. There are more guns than human beings in this country. As this stuff comes home to roost, and it becomes painfully obvious, where do you think we end up? Because you can't hide it right now. Nobody in North Carolina can blame the Democrats for their FEMA funding going away. And it just went away. I mean, it's really gone. This isn't hyperbole, folks. This isn't like that old discussion we used to have about are they going to kill Roe? It's dead. The FEMA funding is gone. Exactly, Deborah Brown. Don't like the message, kill everybody that's giving it. Kurt Aiken. I'm in Concord, Massachusetts next Saturday with tens of thousands of other expected protesters. It's all I can do for the moment. Yeah, I hear you. People are already protesting. People are already angry. People are seeing what's going on. The message can't be hidden. They're not going to be able to lie about what they're doing. People are seeing it happen real time. How do you think it ends? Deborah Brown, Kennedy fired all the scientists with witch doctor foolishness now. Thank you for supporting the show. Really, people, I just want to take a second to thank you again. All you people that support the show, I am incredibly grateful. You're literally allowing me to do this full time. I am incredibly grateful. No, they are not. Pavilion 01, thanks for always being here, but they are not listening. They are not. And they've got their own delusional ideas. John Roberts is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, and that man is deluded enough to think that racism is over. Institutional racism is over. What kind of fantasy land do you think these billionaire Broligarchs live in, who live in the tightest, most insulated bubble there is? Do you think your billionaire Broligarch friend goes to Walmart? Has any clue? Pablo Nolan, thanks for being here, my friend. I appreciate you. I really do. I think this is going to get bad, folks. I really do. I think some people are going to go along with the MAGA nutters. I do. I think that there are going to be some people that would rather die than admit they're wrong, and it's going to get more and more extreme on that respect. But more people are going to wake up, and I really think the guillotines are coming. I think we're going to see a legion of Luigis, to be quite honest with you. I think we are headed for some very, very troubling time. I really do. That's why I tell people, the Democratic Party has never been monolithic, and all too often we Democrats let ourselves be labeled by our most extreme. Because we don't have a lot of corporate funders. We don't. The Johnny Got Rocks Broligarchs bought the Republican Party, and they're getting what they paid for. They don't really fund us that much. We don't. So we have to rely on movements. And a lot of these movements are pretty extreme, but they don't really identify who we are. I mean, everybody would like to see common sense gun reform, but ain't none of us giving up our guns. That's who Democrats really are. But they label us these extreme things. But all of that nonsense, that fiction, doesn't make it through pain and hunger. Carlo Rossi, keep up the good work. Thank you. Your NASCAR bro talks a good fight and talks a lot of crap right up until the point that he's got to wipe Meemaw's butt. Michael Bruce, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. But yeah, I wish I could tell you that it's going to get better. It's not. We didn't have this time. We didn't have this time to waste, but waste it we will. There's nothing we can do about it. We live in a democracy. We did this. All we can do is fix it. And if you want to be in a position to help fix it, go get involved with your local Democratic Party. Get involved, get it plugged in now, get the infrastructure in place, and take power back for the people. Because, folks, I am not the guy that promises you if you go out and elect Democrats, everything's going to be perfect and easy. It's not. I'm the guy that's telling you we have challenges coming down the road that it means our way of life is changing whether we like it or not. And we damn well better have people in power that actually give a shit about people. And right now, that's only the Democratic Party. It is. Jan Reckenberg, I'm looking forward to the giant Russian merchant marine. I don't understand exactly what that means, Jan. Kathy Mosher, our top scientists are going to be hired by other countries that value them, brain drain from the United States. It's already happening. It's happening right now. They're slashing funding to the universities. The universities are going to be cutting. They're just not going to be able to compete. You folks in our European audience, you're going to get some good people. You really are. You're going to hire some really freaking good people from us. You're going to get to meet much better Americans. Dollar Straws, can you talk about the martial law rumors? Not really, because again, they're just rumors and they're coming out of the most Amen. Support our friend Richard. Richard Ojeda. Richard Ojeda is a friend of the show. Absolutely. He's running to make a difference. Linda Orndorff, we need to be on the phone calling senators. They passed the SAVE Act through the House. It is voter suppression. They are fixing the 2026 election. You know what? Let's talk about that for a second. If you don't mind, we'll go a little bit long. Are y'all okay with it? This is our show. You tell me in the comments. Are you okay with me taking another 10, 15 minutes to talk about voter suppression and that stuff? I know it's coming in at the end of the show, not the subject for the show. Okay, everybody's saying go long. All right, let's do it. I preach this like crazy. You cannot forget you're talking to the stupids. The conversation you and I will have about the SAVE Act is very different from what the people out there will hear. Same thing with voter ID. I get so many people that just attack me on social media because I will not fight voter ID laws. Because for me, I'm about winning elections and winning arguments. Voter ID laws are suppression. Look what they just did in North Carolina, where they tried to disenfranchise only Democrats. Only Democrats. The ballots they challenged in the North Carolina Supreme Court race, those same types of ballots existed in Republican districts, but they didn't challenge any of those. They challenged only Democrats in Democratic-leaning districts. It's not about, if it was really about the ballot or anything like that, they would have challenged them all. But they don't win if they do that. So yeah, you and I having the discussion, I absolutely will say these laws are about voter suppression. They are. But we cannot forget we're not all that votes. And to your lay person, they've got to show an ID to buy a beer. They've got to show an ID to get money out of their own bank account. They've got to show IDs all over the damn place. They have no problem with showing an ID to vote. In fact, they think it's a good idea. So, arguing against voter ID is a loser. Because what the Republicans are going to do is they're going to turn around and say that, well, we never won legitimately. We've only had them illegals vote for us or criminals vote for us. And this is proof because we don't want IDs when we vote. We don't want a secure system because we keep sneaking them illegal votes through, which is bullshit. But if you're Cletus and you're dumb as dog shit, and you've got to go out to show an ID to buy your twisted tea, and then you've got Texas Paul over here goes out and makes an argument, you shouldn't need a voter ID to vote. How does it look? I mean, again, you get how they abuse this for voter suppression. I get it. I understand. But Cletus doesn't. This is the better argument. Right here, Ward Watson nailed it. Judo them. You know, Representative Goldman has been a great fighter. People love that guy. All over Social Security, you've got the circular firing squad people that are having a fit because Dan Goldman voted for the SAVE Act. He voted for the SAVE Act because he's in Florida and he's got Cletuses all around him. And he's got to run for office. We need to judo them use their momentum against them. Hell yeah, we want voter ID and we want it to be free. And you'll get people that say, well, my grandma in Alabama, and I hear this all the time. Boy, that Alabama grandma, apparently there's a lot of them that vote, because I hear this all the time. My grandma in Alabama is 89 years old and doesn't have an ID, and they want to make her go down and get an ID. And so she's voted her whole life, and they just don't want her to vote because she votes Democrat. I got a better argument. Get involved with your local Democratic Party and start an initiative in your local Democratic Party to find everybody who should legally have an ID and get them a damn ID. That's the kind of thing you can do when you're involved on the ground. Stop having the arguments that Republicans want you to have. Stop forming circular firing squads. You know they're going to use the SAVE Act for voter suppression. I know they're going to use the SAVE Act for voter suppression. Stop shooting Democrats in the ass that vote for it, that understand the basic reality that they're going to get killed if they vote against it. That's politics, folks. That is politics. And you're the smart ones. You understand these complex situations, and yet many people in our own group are trying to kill Democrats' careers. They just, the moment, we sit there and we say voter suppression is bad, the SAVE Act is voter suppression, and the moment the votes come down, there's no big picture anymore. That's it. It's over. Get rid of that guy. I promise you, when the guillotines come out, when the guillotines finally come out, we're headed for 1790s France. We are. We're headed there. And the Broligarchs are too stupid to see it coming. And when they break those guillotines out for the Broligarchs, there's going to be at least 10% of us that are dragging our own up there to the damn guillotines. They just are. I guarantee you, if they broke the guillotines out tomorrow, Chuck Schumer would be one of the first people's heads to go. Exactly, E.T., the mob. We've got to be smarter than the mob. We do. We've got to remember we're the ones in control. We can't allow extremism. Yes, we've got to have these movements in the Democratic Party. The green initiatives and all that, they're a good thing. But the most extremist parts of it, we've got to have them. They pay the bills in Democratic politics. So that aspect of extremism is always going to be there. But it's not us. It's not who we are. And we cannot allow the Republicans, who have been incredibly adept at buying out the media machine and making the world think that a Democrat is that extremist sliver. All right. William Gish, yes, free passports. Why is government documentation? Why are we forced to pay for documentation the government forces us to have? No. Johnny Got Rocks, you want that? You want that? You want a DNA database? You pay for it. You pay for it. We can do it, folks. We really can. We can modify our message. We can modify our message. It is a poll tax. It is a poll tax. It takes those least able to get around and afford You know, you've got people that are cutting their pills in half. What they're trying to do is they're trying to keep those people from voting by telling them, hey, you got to go pay $30 or $50 or whatever your state is. And just keep adding requirements and adding requirements and adding requirements. You and I know that. You know, I know that. But we've got to message for the people. And don't allow that to be taking up room in the space. Because wouldn't you rather be talking about the fact that right now, Pete Hegseth is using a private cell phone with a free messaging app talking about classified topics. And Russia knows, our enemies know, he's making us less safe. Isn't that a better argument than we don't need voter ID because that's voter suppression? And Ocletus says, you make me present an ID to buy my twisted tea, and you're telling me I don't need one to vote? Pick our arguments, folks. Pick one. That's where I come down on it. Now, again, we are a community here. I am who I am. I believe what I'm going to believe. Your feedback is priceless. What do you think on what I'm saying about that? Mr. Newton, the wealth distribution in the USA is worse than in pre-revolution France. Let them eat cake. Time is soon here again. Be civil this time. I'm hoping so. I'm going to do everything I can to keep it civil, but it's not going to be civil, Mr. Newton. It's not, because you're absolutely right. The wealth disparity is actually higher now than it was when they broke out the guillotines. Jason Crow, thanks for supporting the show. I'm going to read your comments for a minute. I really want to know your feelings on what I just talked about. Hey, that's my job, Lori. You people, your donation right there, just let me do it. Folks, I got a family to take care of. I got to eat it. I got to keep the lights on. I got to pay for this stuff. I do have some good news. I can't promise it. I cannot promise it because I don't know. We've been screwed by this before where they just bypassed us. But they are 100 yards from my house laying fiber. 100 yards from the gate of my property laying fiber. I may have first class, first world internet soon. Maybe. Not sure. Can't promise anything. And you folks pay for it. You do. Zeb, Shakespeare, Henry the Sixth, Act 4, Scene 2, replace lawyers with Broligarchs. First thing, yeah. There's so much culturally, artistically, and historically that are telling us exactly where we're going. And the Broligarchs have their fingers in their ears going, la, 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 la. You've got Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey talking openly about stealing people's intellectual property. What does that mean when you say shred intellectual property law? What are you saying? We know what you're saying. And you're saying it out loud. That's how stupid these people are. Not only are they awful, they're stupid and awful. It's like Kanye destroying himself. If he had never, you know what, man, if Kanye had never opened his mouth about his insane political views, he would still be selling his records and his Yeezys and still married to a damn Kardashian. But he's stupid on top of crazy. Julio, thanks for supporting the show, my friend. Thank you. And you know what, Greg Giles here with a great comment. It's communism. It is. It's exactly what it is. It's communism, but they've made themselves the party bosses. The destruction of intellectual property laws is exactly that. It's communism. It's the people own everything. They're literally pushing, Soviet-style communism on top of us. One second. One second. I'm sorry about the dead air. All right, I'm back. All right. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I did say Dan Goldman. I'm sorry. I was talking about Jared Moskowitz. I'm sorry. Beth, spot on. That's why I love you people. You don't let me get away with shit. I was talking about Dan Goldman. I said he was from Florida. He's got all the Cletuses around him in Florida. I was thinking about Jared Moskowitz. I apologize. I don't get everything perfect every time, but I have you people to fall back on. Beth, thank you for being here, and thank you for keeping me straight. All right. Well, look, folks, I don't know any other way to put it than to actually sound the alarm. I'm not hyperbolic. I don't tell people, oh, the end is nigh and this that. No, but things are going to change. And we really need to have that perspective. We are on a train that is running out of track. And we've got a choice. We can change tracks or we can build more track. But either way, we can't keep doing exactly what we're doing now. We can't. And we're going to have some tough choices in the future. And we can't let Republicans be in charge when we make those choices because you've seen what they're willing to do. You have. You've seen what they're willing to do and who they serve. When it comes down to, like my old man used to say, nut cutting time, when it's time to make the tough choices going forward, we've got to have some people in power that actually give a shit about the people. And we've got to be smart about it. Because I guarantee you right now, there are folks in North Carolina that are just waking up to the news that their matching FEMA funds vanished. There are people in Hawaii that are waking up to the fact that, man, we were having this great debate about, do we bury our power cables and do it really first class? You know, I'm sure a European audience is minds blown because Europe and most places in Europe, they do bury their power lines. We don't. We hang them in the air off wooden sticks. So while we're having that debate in Hawaii, their funding is going away too. It is. Grandma's funding for her old folks home is going away. It is. It's going away. It's really in this budget. It's really in this budget. The minute they get through reconciliation, watch what happens with the corporate media. We're always 2 weeks ahead of them. We're always 2 weeks ahead of them. Watch what happens in the corporate media when this budget goes into effect. All of a sudden, they're really going to care about grandma. And you're going to start seeing them stories, man. Grandma is losing her place. Grandma's old folks home is closing down. And I said grandma's because we men tend to die. Old folks homes are Philly farms. They're not full of old men for the most part. It's old women. So yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around on a Sunday afternoon, on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and spending your time with me. I love you folks. Thanks for supporting the show. I am incredibly grateful. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.